Welcome to the Great News Podcast, where we are interviewing people who are making great news by making big, positive differences globally. They are here to inspire you with what is possible and empower you to help contribute to world peace and to the changes you want to see in the world.
Hello, I'm Rico Cavella, creator of the Ageless Living Lifestyle. If you are concerned about premature aging and you want to avoid disease and old age, and you want to live a more healthy, energetic, and vital long life, I have proven solutions for you. So number one, go to agelessliving.lifestyle.com and take our aging quiz to see how well you are doing. And number two, book your free coaching session with me to discuss your wellness challenges, and I promise to get you going on the right track. You can transform your health and your life, and I can help. Hello, this is Rico Cavella, and this is your Great News Podcast, where we interview people that are making great news and making a great contribution to help create the changes that we all want to see in the world, to make it a better place for all of humanity to live in. And so our guests and I, we want to let you know that there's a lot of great news going in the world, a lot more than the so-called bad news that you see on the nightly news. So we're hope people to get rid of all this fear and anxiety about how we're doing, because we're actually, as humanity, we are progressing in a positive direction. It's just a matter of how soon we get to where we can learn to live together and create peace on this planet and prosperity for all of us. It's when we wake up. And so I'm really excited about today's episode. But before I introduce the title and our expert guest, I want to let you know that so many people say, well, what can I do? I don't know what I can do. I want to see some changes. Well, here's what you can do. We created a website called Tree of Positive Intentions, where you can go and post for free your positive intentions about the changes that you want to see in the world. And what that's going to do, all these intentions together are going to create a very strong positive energy force, and it's going to help to change the hearts and minds of people globally. So we'll put that address in the show description. Okay, so the title of today's episode is The Journey Home, the Wisdom Journey. This is so good. And our guest, his name is Jeniji Lake. He's the founder of I Help Academy, inner transformational and cognitive awareness advisor, author, speaker, friend, and he's a highly sought after advisor providing unparalleled insights and solutions to his personal and professional clientele that transcend our current understanding of the human cognitive reality creation process. So Jeniji, thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I love your podcast. I love this show.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So before before we get into what you're offering, I have some questions that I'd like to ask you and discuss with you. But even before that, just tell us a little bit about about your journey back home and how you come to do what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just a country boy. I grew up in I would say backwoods farm country in Ohio. I think I was probably conceived in the backseat of a 57 Chevy, which is probably why I like Chevy so much. And, we're kind of on the older fart size. And so I got started when I realized, and I didn't realize until about 45, almost 50 years old, that I had been born into a knowledge bubble, and that everything I could possibly do with my life, I gained in that knowledge bubble. And then I took that knowledge bubble living there out into the world, living other places. And I found out very quickly how unprepared I was to live life in the real world when all I had was the knowledge and wisdom in that small area I grew up in. And so my journey began the moment I saw myself have a thought pop up in my head that I did not ask for. And for the first time in my life, I realized that there was something going on inside, independent of my choice. And it was then that I realized that I must have been on the hook of this thought stream for most of my life, and had no clue that I was automatically responding, automatically reacting, automatically feeling and doing, living the life that my mind had been taught to give me, but not the life that I would like to live in choice had I thought I had a choice to do so. And so my journey started, like all of our journeys started, in this bubble of knowledge and wisdom or problems that we grew up in. And I love the fact that one of the things you're doing is this positive intentions program, because we have something on our side called our wisdom story. And this is where we ask individuals from all over the world to tell us your insights. What worked? What solved a problem? Don't hold on to it. Because if I lived in this bubble all my life and I didn't have to physically be there, I took it with me in here, in my mind, then we're all doing the same. And therefore, if the problem is quite similar, that means the solution is quite similar too. And so that's what started my journey. That's what's led to what we do now, is that I realized that there were answers out there, just not known by me and not known by anyone I knew. And so for I had to really get out of that belief that I am my thoughts, I am my history, and my memories, because none of that would have served me. My roots would have never solved the problem that I needed solved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so well said. Well, that kind of really leads us into the first question I wanted to ask you. Is what do you just we can discuss some of the primary reasons that we are still stuck in the way that we are living. I heard once from one of the spiritual teachers that I know about. He said, if you gauge the progress of mankind, as long as we've been on the earth so far, if you use an analogy of a lifespan, say 80 years, we're only like a teenager so far. That's how far we've grown. So I had this thing, it's about time that we become adults and wake up that we don't have to keep living this way. And so what you were saying is, that's exactly it. I think the main primary reason, as you were saying, is because we're just not educated. We're not most people don't have no clue that we're so much more powerful and there's so much more going on, and we're so much more capable of creating what we really desire in this world, but people just don't realize that they have that capability.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the biggest thing that has changed the most for the individuals that we work with here, because we have a movement called Found, Find, Found, that we found something within our lives that made a difference. And then we go find individuals having difficulties of same things and teaching them what we found, so then they can also be found too. They found their way back home inside. And so we need 1 billion of those people out there. We need 1 million, and so how do we do that? And what is the thing that's keeping us, right? How to answer your question, and it's this. Nobody understands the difference between what I call the firstborn and the first created.
Okay.
And let me share this so you and your audience understand what that means. We were all born, came out of mama, had our butts slapped, and we are then the firstborn. In that moment, we are born with the intelligence, the function of intelligence, the function of emotional control, the ability for logic, wisdom, rationality, executive function, present moment, conscious decision-making. We are born functionally whole as a human being, the firstborn. Now, what's interesting is the firstborn learned to roll over, learned to hold its head up, learned to grab the rattle, kept learning. Didn't know its name, no clue that it's Thursday, no idea the sky is blue. The firstborn was not content related. It didn't have thoughts. It didn't have memories. It isn't up there going, man, I really wished I'd like to have the tapioca pudding baby food instead of the chicken. It's
Right.
not going on up there. There is no discontent.
And
So
no limit.
here's
I was just going to say no limitations, right?
no limitation. So the firstborn who we are, all of a sudden, now is born into a home that does not understand child development because
Yeah.
they themselves weren't taught. So around 18 months to 24 months, baby looks in the mirror, and this time it's not another baby in the mirror. I'm the baby in the mirror, and something happened.
Mhm.
There is an awareness that switched on in the baby that I exist separately. And all of a sudden, the baby in the mirror is born. This is the first created. I
Mhm.
now have an image of me in my mind, and I have a nose, and I know what it looks like. Now, we need to understand that this idea of us in the mind that continues saying, I don't like Thursday, I like ice cream, I hate this, I suffer from this. This I am the mind that we continued on throughout our life is a belief-based entity. It does not have functions. It does not have the ability for emotional control. It does not have actual love. It has its like. It has the belief about it, but not it. It has the belief about what someone can do, but not the functions of what someone can do. So if
Mhm.
you want to know why we all suffer, it's because we've been taught to be an identity in the mind that is belief-based, not function-based. So everyone out there trying to solve a problem through the use of their persona won't be able to because there's no functions, which is why we feel helpless, why we feel lost, why individuals give up on their lives. And so when we look at the great news of what this is, it's the realization that we have always been whole because the human mind is the only thing I have ever found capable of being taught to tell itself it's broken.
Mhm.
And when the human mind is taught to tell itself it's broken, it can then easily be taught to tell itself that there's no cure, no solution. This is what we are all under the influence of. We're under the influence of a false understanding about who we are, and it has nothing to do with the truth of who we are. And that's what we do here. We help people wake back up. We understand that a lostness took place, and we're helping people remember who they are before the lostness took place. And that is our journey back home. And it is incredible to experience the benefits of that, of finally getting emotional control back, finally getting love and joy, wonder and awe, the truth of who we are back. It's
Wow.
incredible.
Really well said. I really like the way you express that, and that goes exactly with what my spiritual teachings have been. Like you say, as we're born, we're actually born with the Creator, with our God, however you want to think of the Creator, inside ourselves, and with no limits. But we're put here with free will, and like say, we're not taught that we have God inside. We're not taught that there's no limits that what we can do and we create. So, and we identify with our physical body and not realizing that we are an eternal spiritual being with a physical body to have these experiences and to enjoy all the journey and to learn and grow and see what we can do. So that's exactly right. So that's the message that we really need to get out to people, and that is great news that we are much more than we think we are, and we can do all the amazing things that we desire if we got to change our belief system, and we got to change how we relate with each other. And isn't it just, Jeniji, it doesn't just blow your mind too that we're still living this way so stupid. We're still killing each other and fighting when all we have to do is just realize we're all brothers and sisters on this planet, and if we just cooperated and 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 collaborated, it could be an amazing life for everyone. There wouldn't have to be all this fear and anxiety and all this just craziness that's still going on.
Well, I think the difficulty with that is that there's on twofold. First, we need to have enlightened um, helpers at the helm.
We don't have
And
that.
right, and that's the first thing. So if there's no external source out there, a president of a country that's a helper, a Congress and Senate that's a helper, where there's not all of these hidden agendas and politics and lies and all the crap going on. We will not have a society that's based this way until it's from the top down. But we can have a life that way because our life is determined that way from bottom up.
Right.
So we have to understand the difference between what we experience in society. And then let me tell you, when I drive down the road, I do not experience the politics of whatever as I'm driving down that road. My world, most of our worlds, do not even come close to half the crap they get us caught up in to paying attention to. Has nothing to do with our lives. So the first thing is that we're going to need some external, and the only way we're finding external is through shows like yours, programs like ours. And unfortunately, we're outnumbered by the number of places that are actually putting people to sleep. But that's the answer, is understanding that the difference between the top down, which is society, and the bottom up, which is our personal lives, and that we can do something. The second thing, which is even more important, we don't have an inheritance that we pass down. My mother, God rest her soul, she committed, she died. I won't go into reasons why, but she died at 38. In 1969, the Beatles were on television, our black and white TV. We had the old phonograph on the set. We had an old 45 of the Beatles with a green apple on it, where music Let It Be. And all of a sudden on the television, the Beatles were there with their guru from overseas. My mom shut off the TV, broke, which some of these records are worth a fortune now, some of the original records, and said we were never allowed to listen to the Beatles or see the Beatles again because meditation is of the devil. Now, my mom loved me. And she said that to me because she loved me, because she believed it herself. And so the second problem that is easier solved is our family inheritance. And our family inheritance, for the most part, says if I'm depressed, so will my daughter. If I have PTSD, so will my other partner. That these are genetic as opposed to psychological beliefs we're acting out. And so we can make a bigger difference in the families than we can make on a society level quicker, because we're just dealing with the individuals, not politics, not policy, not funding. And so that's where we put our effort. Is that I'd love to be able to take on society, but you and I need to get a lot younger, and we need to start running for office to be able to do that. And until then, we can start working with families. But I think that's exactly what needs to be done. There needs to be, instead of Republican and Democrat, there needs to be the enlightened party.
Yeah, absolutely right. Our two-party system is dysfunctional, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. There's two things I want to talk about what you just said. First of all, was no government and legislation is going to change what's going on. We have to change as individuals, and when enough people change as individuals, then there will be people that'll rise up and will become the leaders. I think that's what it is. So it's got to be a groundswell of people, like you say, awakening to the journey, to the wisdom journey, and then will become enlightened leaders. But then the other question I have for you, what do you think about this? I mean, why is it our society that doesn't have that inheritance? But indigenous people and a lot of people at other times really respected their elders, and they did inherit wisdom and knowledge from the past, but not in our society. So how do you think that happened?
It's the same thing. I was born into a country that said we're the best country and everyone else is bad. And they gave us all the reasons. Right? I mean, come on. We saw Muhammad Ali change his name. We saw Vietnam on TV. We saw us land on the moon. We saw Martin Luther King literally dead on top of that balcony. We have seen these things on television in our world, and we saw what it was like integrating for schools. We have witnessed things ourselves at the ages that we are, and unfortunately, why this is still a problem, and why what the real issue is. And the real issue is that I have within me a subconscious, and so do you. And that subconscious has a feature called OOU and other. It is a natural function. And OOU means one of us, and other means other than us. And so the mind is naturally, because there's this natural tendency for the human mind to being drawn towards its family, like-minded. It's a natural function called OOU and other. And what happens is that the OOU function gives ourselves all the good stuff and naturally gives the other all the bad things. So when we live by this OOU other ideology in the mind, and how do we know this is true? Well, babies recognize their mama, they recognize smell, they recognize taste, they recognize everything about the mama, and then they recognize not mama. And this is a natural part of our biology. And so in order for us to truly make a difference in the world, we need to understand that there are some functions of our natural biology that will not serve us as a consciously awake human being. That we need to understand that this natural tendency to separate self, to put ourselves in clans and groups and small, that it is a tendency that we have to go against. It was needed as a younger, the cubs won't go out of their den for fear of being eaten. There's a natural fear of the dark. There are certain things within the human embryology that we have to be able to go against. And the first thing is we have to stop allowing us to follow the mind to create other.
Yeah.
And see it so literally.
Yeah.
Your body's from Earth. There is nothing in my room that's not from Earth. My body's from Earth. Everything is Earth. You want to visit your grandparents? Go to the ocean. Where did the water in their body go to? Look at the rivers. We are literally the same thing, pretending we're not because we believe we're not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that
so you want
feeling
to know how to end war, how to
being
end
separate.
it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. It's understanding reality, not the fantasy that we've been taught to live in the mind.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, I like the way you express that. Yeah, it's no question. We've just been led down this path of feeling separate and feeling that we just are our own physical body, and we have all these limitations, and there's all this fear, and it's a dog eat dog world. We hear all that kind of stuff, and people just
none of it is true.
I know none of it is true, but people buy into it, and it's just that collective consciousness is not where it needs to be. but more and more people are understanding, just like with your work and all of this. Again, that's why we're doing this. I'm just bringing on people like yourself and people that are doing great things. So we just got to get the mainstream people to understand there's something, there's a lot good alternatives out there than what you've been fed so far.
And I'm excited about that because
me too.
We go to the listen, I have this leg that now and then doesn't like to walk. This knee needs replaced, and I haven't yet.
Yeah.
And so if I go to the hospital and I go to the emergency room, here's what's going to happen. More than likely, especially let's say it's a broken leg, the general practitioner, odds are, is going to say, let's put a cast on it. We can set it. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then a surgeon's going to walk by and the surgeon's going to go, oh, no. We need to put a pin in that. You need surgery. Then a natural health practitioner is going to walk by and go, no, we can do this with natural homeopathic, blah, 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 blah. And here's where the problem lies. That poor individual is sitting there, now the one having to decide its own treatment. Mm-hmm. And it's not qualified. We are not qualified. And yet we're put into a position that you can do this, that, or the other. And how are we the ones to make the decision? Because this, that, and the other, the doctor has an agenda, the surgeon has an agenda, so and so. And they're only going to give me the advice based on the view in which they're giving me advice from. Mm-hmm. How would I know which is best? I'm going to sit there and probably go with what I can afford, my fear, my insecurities, my doubts. If I don't trust surgeons because of blah, 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 if I don't trust all of that's going to be it. And so how would we know as a regular human being what's the best choice? What's the best way? When even in the medical fields and in the spiritual fields, spirituality, my God, somebody tried to sell me an amber pyramid with a copper wire coil in the middle of it because it will cure insomnia. The crap that's out there. So it's no wonder people stop looking for solutions and they just live in their uncomfortable comfort zones. Yeah. Because they're tired of buying and trying crap that doesn't work. And that's why I'm excited. That's why this is good news. That's why, because the only thing the individual needs to do to know the difference between crap and the actual gifts of people like you and others are putting out there is they have to look at intention. And if we're not looking at intention, we really are not paying attention to why someone's trying to sell us, why they're trying to give it. And most of the time, it's quite selfish.
Yeah. I was just going to add, yeah, what we need to do, we need to learn how to trust our innate intelligence. We need to go inside our heart instead of our head. And because our mind and our brains can always lead us astray, but deep inside, we know what's best for it. We know who we really are. Like you say, the journey back home, we actually know who we really are, where we came from, and we know what's best for us. If we can, that's why, meditation and all the different practices that we know about that can be helpful to slow the mind, and so that we can connect with our inner knowing, our innate intelligence, and then we will know. But again, don't you think also, Jeniji, that I've always thought that it's so unfortunate that our education system, the most important things we need to function well as a human being, we should learn is how to, first of all, how to appreciate our physical body, how to take care of our health. And then we need to learn how to create good relationships, how to relate with people and have good relationships. And we need to be able to have good self-esteem, feel good about ourselves. But we're not taught any of those things in school, right? We're not taught any of those. So no wonder we have all this, the craziness that's going on.
Well, I think one of the points that you bring up, and this is the key point in our wisdom journey, our journey back home, is understanding that nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody is paying attention on who's talking and who they're talking to. When I work with an amazing client, doesn't matter if they're an individual or organization, the first thing I do is I need to know, what are they under the influence of? Because whatever they're under the influence of, whatever idea, thought, belief, that's a recruitment that they're going to try to get me to buy into. So if that individual says, I'm broken, I'm not a reader, I'm this, I'm that, I must pretend that something called I'm not a reader actually exists. I have to pretend. I have to believe that they're broken. Why? Because we've been so used to broken people. And God forbid we call somebody out on them not knowing that they're not broken while they're defending that they believe they are. And this is what I call the third position. And why is it that we're not out there getting help? Well, first off, the first created does not have function. It can't solve a problem. It's just belief-based. Now, we call this ego, right? And part of ego is the third position. It means that whatever I tell myself I cannot do, someone else will need to do it for me. Because I've taken a problem on as an identity. I am depressed. I am depression. I am anxiety. Okay. Now, what happens is once the mind takes on a false belief as an identity, then it's going to get the people around them to listen, I can't do that anymore. So stop asking me to do something, because I'm living with perceived helplessness. And why is there perceived helplessness? Because we've been taught that we cannot be both the solution and the problem. That if we're the problem, we cannot also be the solution. And we're taught literally that if the mind creates a problem, you can't use the same mind for a solution. So you need what's called the third position. You can't do it yourself, but I'll do it for you. Come to see me as a therapist and I'll solve your problem. Come here and I'll pray and I'll have God solve your problem. Well, you can't solve it for you.
And that really, that stems way back from religion,
back and
right?
back and back.
Yeah, from religion. That's the main premise of religion. You need us to help you to get to heaven and not go to hell.
Yeah, but you have to understand, there's a reason for this. It used to be that when kings and queens and everyone wanted to control their society, it was done physically.
Yeah.
But the bigger Rome got, the bigger society got, they could not physically. And so they understood that an idea in the mind can make an individual helpless. And so control now is belief-based instead of physical-based.
Right. That's exactly right.
And guess what? There's no wrong or bad here per se. And I say that for the following reason. We need a mythos. The mind has to have context to understand. We have to have content and beliefs. I had to learn the Starbucks program. I go in, this is the name, this is what I order. I had to learn that.
Yeah.
I had to learn make my bed. I had to learn. And so there's nothing wrong with any of this. The problem is when that's all there is to go to. There's no beyond. And with there's no beyond, there's no insight. There's nothing beyond what I think. There's nothing beyond what I believe. There's no beyond. And beyond is a function of the firstborn, being able to see past what we're under the influence of, see past current circumstances, and see past whatever I'm thinking or feeling. It's the ability for beyond. And so most people stay where they're at, not because they want to stay there. They just don't believe there's a beyond.
Yeah. Before we go on with that point, I neglected earlier to say that to our audience, please stay with us. I mean, we're having some fun here and some interesting ideas. We'll go a little bit longer, but stay to the end because he has some really great free gifts for you, some free trainings on his website, and also he has some really great retreats coming up that you'll want to know about too. So stay with us, and we'll let you know how you can connect with Jeniji and learn what he has to offer you. So, okay, good. Yeah, go ahead to where you were there. Yeah,
it's okay because when we're stuck in the third position, then I work both on the achievement side. I work with companies to understand what products they need to sell, how to connect with their customers, but primarily I work with individuals and families, right? And so the work I do there is to understand that the moment in the family, the third position is taken over, then that family is going to suffer poverty, emotional distress, whatever it is. It's because of the ideas they're under the influence of. They're the influence that they are broken somehow, that they can't do it. This is our life's lot. And the reason is two things: the one view and compelling evidence. I believe I'm broken because there's compelling evidence to prove that there is. I'm automatically saying and doing things that I don't want to do. There must be something wrong with me. Hold on. Because I'm saying and doing things that I don't want to say or do, there must be something wrong with me. They're using their behavior as compelling evidence, or their emotions, that there must be something wrong with them. No different than using the fact that somebody ate the cookies to prove Santa is real.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Okay, so we make it up in our mind. We believe that because of that, it equals that. Because in this moment, I do not know why I'm saying or doing things. I must be broken because there's no other explanation in the mind. They do not understand the illusion of the one view. The illusion of the one view is why most people never go for help. The illusion of the one view is, I think, one of the most difficulties that humans have yet to understand. And because of the research that we've done and the teaching that we do, the illusion of the one view looks like this. Right now, there's pressure of your shirt on your shoulders. Think about this. All day, especially during this conversation, there's been a pressure of your shirt on your shoulders. But because it's an approved sensation, it's unconscious to us. Now, the moment I wake someone up and say, listen, there's pressure of your shirt on your shoulders, and they start wiggling their shoulders a little bit and they feel it, you go, my God, that's been here the whole time. So if we have a subconscious, and if whatever we use or don't use repeatedly becomes unconscious to us, then what's the likelihood that our ability for solutions are there? They're just unconscious to us. Our ability for emotional control is there. It's just unconscious to us because we're paying attention to the illusion of the one view. And this is the illusion. You have, I have, we all have two hemispheres, two eyeballs, two ears, two nostrils, two hands. We are literally bipolar. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. But here's what happens. Those of us who have partied and had a little too much to drink in our lives understand double vision. That is our normal vision. And then the mind blends it together into one view. The mind also takes our beliefs, our fears, our insecurities, and blends it in with whatever's happening in the present moment. And so we actually believe that whatever's happening in the moment is actually causing what I'm feeling, because it's all blended into one view. Mm-hmm. And when we can separate this illusion and stop treating what is from the overlay we put over it of thoughts and beliefs, because the illusion of the one view, we do not see something as it is. We only see after it's been filtered by our subconscious. We only see it in the mind.
Yeah.
And so unless we're awake enough to understand that there's two realities, actually three, happening at the same time. There's this conscious human being aware of what is. What is aware of what is. Then there's the mind, which is what isn't. And what isn't has been taught to treat what isn't as what is. If I'm thinking it, it must be true. So we've been taught to take what is actual reality and then the overlay of beliefs that we put on it and treat them as the same. And that's where the lostness takes place. The lostness takes place when we treat beliefs as actual reality. And that what I believe about myself is more true than my actual self itself.
Yeah.
And so the use of compelling evidence, the understand of the one view, the understanding of the third position, and then the enforcer belief systems that we have to justify all of that. This is a journey that within about 8 hours, and I've covered a lot here, we've gone pretty deep on some things, but it's really easy to understand. It's easy to wake someone up. The difficulty then is letting them not feel frustration when their subconscious takes back over again, and then they feel like a failure. It's not. They have a subconscious. It's going to automatically say, I hate Denny's, or whatever it is in the mind it's going to say. And so we really have spent the last 17 years developing this program. And then this is the first year that I'm releasing it to the entire public. We've been very adamant about making sure we knew outcome before we ever released it. So I'm hoping that your listeners really take a lot from this. I know they will. I'm grateful to have spent this time with you, especially to share what's going on. And most importantly, anything we can ever do to help you help others the way you are. It is just incredible, and we're thankful. And I'm grateful to share this message in yours here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Okay, before we kind of sum it up, and I got one more question for you, and then we'll let people know how. Well, also, I'd like you to give. Well, let me ask you this question first, and then I'll ask you that.
Sure.
I always like to ask everybody this and see what they think of it. Is why do you feel? I mean, as you began, you start off saying, "Well, I just grew up in the backwoods in Ohio." So why were you able to get past that limitations and expand your consciousness the way you do, and where most people are not able to do that? Why do you think that is?
I pause a minute because that's a question that I've pondered.
Yeah, me too.
Probably my entire life. Because even in high school, I mean, I love my family, but and not a butt of love, but I'm the only one that met Mom. She was 16 when she had me. I know the original Mom. And then about 5 or 6, my age, we started losing her. Mm-hmm. She started believing that she couldn't go outside without her makeup on. She had to put on her face. She wouldn't let a man touch her unless her legs were shaved. We started losing her. And then that led to insecurities and depression and all of that. And so why? You know, what is the big why here? Nobody knows. I go to other countries and I speak with them, and had I not done that, there would have been knowledge and wisdom I wouldn't have found. All of this can easily be understood with a metaphor of the wheel. It's incredible to understand that around 4,000 years ago, somewhere, which the continents looked quite different and on, that there was a wheel that was invented. They understood. And I joke around, it's probably some Neanderthal on a pottery wheel, got drunk, knocked it over, and it rolled away. But somewhere along the line, someone saw an insight that thing rolling was not a pottery wheel, just an example, but it's more than that. It's a wheel. It does more than that. And in that moment, only in that place on earth was an insight that led to knowledge greater than was known. I mean, that's what an insight is. We just had an insight. We just discovered something beyond current knowledge, beyond current new use, only in that one spot. It's then said it took about 1,400 years for an area near China for them to discover the wheel. They did not learn it from the other group that had invented it, thought it. They themselves discovered it. And so why is it? Because we're all living in little knowledge bubbles. We're all taught that this is who we are. We're all taught that we can't change who we are. And yet there's knowledge.
But my question, but Jeniji, I agree, but you were also taught that. So why were you able to get out of the bubble and so many people are not?
Right. Well, this is where I'm going with this.
Okay.
I came home one day and saw the relationship that my mom was in and beating her again. And I walked in the door again, the same scenario. I'm seeing my little brother, who's 11. I'm 17 now, sitting over there with a broken arm. I'm watching my little sister cry in the corner. She's 5. I'm watching my mom get hurt again. And I go upstairs and grab a gun and I'm going to kill him. Now, this is very deep. This is extremely. And what happened? I had to make a decision. Either I leave or my life is ruined. And I left. I literally, at 17, ran away from home. Ended up going into the Air Force. Had it not been because every one of my family members are still there. My brother ended up ODing on heroin. My mom did. Nobody got out. And why did I get out? Why was I the only one that got out?
Yeah.
Man, luck. Luck. But then you have to understand, I took that insanity out into the world with me for another 40 some years. Hell. Suicide. Hell. So why did I get out? I didn't. At 45 years old, I tried committing suicide, and I realized that I could no longer take care of myself. So I answered an ad on Craigslist. Maybe I could be a caregiver. Maybe there's some place I can go because I can't take care of myself anymore. That was my story. Those were my beliefs. That's what I was under the influence of. I just lost a huge business because of this irrationality in my mind. How did I get out? Because I went to that place for a bed. And guess what the guy said? Give me a year and your life will never be the same. And he taught me one thing. One freaking damn thing that made all the difference. He took me to a teacher that taught me stop. S-T-O-P. Because if it's true that we're whole, then there is nothing between me and my wholeness except for the ideas and beliefs that I've put in between there.
That's right.
And the moment I understood stop, and stop, God, it's a huge word and it means more than we think it is. But the moment I was able to stop and actually see beyond the thought stream in my mind, that's what changed it all. I actually saw my mind think independently of me, which we talked about earlier. Had it not been for that, I would not be alive. So how did I get out? I get out the same way everyone else does. Luckily, there was someone that knew someone that could help.
Yeah. Well, it's no question. We're all about here to help each other. But let me give you this idea. This is what I've learned from my spiritual teachings, is that I don't think it's not really luck. I don't think there's really such a thing as luck. But what it is that, I totally believe that, reincarnation and we come here on again. And so it's called, some people are old souls and some people are young souls. So the more times you come here, you get to progress from where you as your knowledge and wisdom or spiritual journey, however you got to it in one life, you start that from there and go again. So
Okay.
so people that are advanced like yourself and doing things now, you're like an old soul because you've been here enough times that you're able to do this. And people that are totally struggling, and as you say, never get out, are just young souls, and they haven't been here enough to have enough experiences to progress, but they will progress eventually. But everybody's at a different level. That's why we got such a variety of people and where they're at, where their consciousness is. So I think that's really what the answer is that the people that are able to, like you say, get out and advance and be able to help other people is because they're old soul. They've been here more times than most people. What do you think about that? I think that's just really innately feels like the right thing to me.
Well, I am by no means a helper is a helper, and anything someone says, if it helps someone else,
Yeah,
my goodness.
absolutely.
But here's how I'll respond to that, though. What I just heard was, and again, I understand it goes from where the teaching is. Had I been an old soul, I wouldn't have suffered. Now again, I know that's not what you're saying, but the audience in the back is going to go, well, I guess I'm not an old soul. I guess I've got how many more lifetimes I've got to go. And I hear you on that. I hear you. But I can't believe that. And I don't believe that for one reason why. I deal with born to death. I deal with the human experience as a human experience.
Mhm.
If I have to rely on what I did in the past or some future life, then that's the third position.
No, I didn't say you're not relying on what you have on the past.
I'm not saying that you are. I'm not
Yeah,
saying you are.
okay.
Please let me finish.
Okay.
You have to understand that to the human mind,
Mhm.
it's now. There is nothing that I do not have available right now to solve whatever problem is right now, or at least a workaround. I do not need a previous life. I do not need the next life. I don't need anything other than that which I am right now.
I
And
agree.
everything that's available to me to solve the problem is available to you, regardless of lives. And it does not take an old soul to wake up.
No,
It's one of the fun parts about these
yeah,
conversations.
yeah. Okay, no, I
Right?
totally agree with you. But the point is, why some people are able to wake up in the moment right now is because of this, of what they've learned in the past, even though you're not aware of it. Because then what's the reason why the other people, so the masses don't, and so many people just have a destructive life and they end up dying. It's because they just haven't, so that they just haven't advanced far enough so they can wake up in this particular reincarnation. So I totally agree. Yeah, everybody has a potential to be totally enlightened right now, right? We all could just be like that, and we could wake up and connect with our higher self. Everybody has that potential. Yeah. Okay.
And I love how you put that. And again, everyone is going to find a meaning for them to understand.
That's right.
I don't use beliefs. For me and for my team, we don't use beliefs to describe a why. We use functions to describe why. And why is it that I got out and a lot of my family didn't? And let me tell you, many of them right now are further than they've ever been. And I applaud my family. I love them. They're amazing. But why did I get out? Listen, I'm not going to change the idea that it was luck. Why? There was nothing in my bubble, none of my friends, nothing in my world that would have ever led me to a spiritual journey, ever.
Okay.
And so somewhere along the line, I have to look at every individual out there and say, if you don't know what to look for, you'll never find this.
Absolutely.
And in that case, it's like a blind squirrel. It is kind of lucky sometimes when he finds a nut. But how can we purposefully do it? That's where you come in. That's where I come in. That's where, because we have to go to where people normally won't learn this. We have to go to where they're not going to get this. the medical community is not going to teach their client
Right.
about the subconscious like that. They haven't been. The spiritual community, if I would have gone to the spiritual community, then I would be using rocks, meditation, hot naked yoga. I would be doing all of these things other than stop. The human mind, when we stop the chatter, what arises like the fog on a lake is our awareness. Remember, we are either pointing the direction of our subconscious and we're on automatic, or we're present. There is no in between.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of all of this, the beauty of the great news, which
Yeah, the great news. Yeah.
the absolute great news of all of this. I'm having my glass has been eaten by my mic. When we first started this conversation, I knew that this is just the spot for this conversation for one reason. Your energy, your positiveness, your hope, all of that. I'm going to approach a client in a way that's going to ask them, why aren't you be the one solving your problems? And inevitably, it's going to come down to a because. And the because is always some helplessness or some hopelessness.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
None of us want to live that way.
Yeah.
And so either a friend that's listening to this shares this with a friend or family or coworker that needs it. And in that moment, had it not been for that helper helping someone else, that person may not have run into an answer.
Absolutely.
And in that, that's luck. We got lucky enough to be shared and around people that care enough about us. It's unlucky that we weren't knowing. It's in the realm of we don't know, we don't know. None of us is going to look for an answer we don't know is out there. We won't.
Right. No, I agree. Okay, I just want to say one little thing about that luck thing, and then we're going to let's talk about a little bit about what you have to offer on your website for people, and then I'll talk a little bit about your retreat. The only thing I'll just say, and I'm not certainly saying that I'm right and you're wrong or any of that stuff.
I'm definitely wrong.
Just ideas, okay? But
Yeah.
see, if it was really all based on luck, that wouldn't be a really seems like that'd be kind of a dysfunctional God that would create people, and some people are going to get lucky and get to spend their life sooner, and other people just had bad luck and they don't. So I don't think it's not. It can't really be a matter of luck, because that wouldn't be fair. That would be really unfair. That this person gets to be lucky, but this one's going to have bad luck.
No. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that we get to be lucky. We got lucky enough that there was someone around us that had knowledge and wisdom that we didn't have, and they shared it. That's what I mean by luck.
Okay. All right.
Not luck that's the only way, that we got lucky enough that somebody knew something that we didn't know. And we got lucky enough in that moment, we were willing to hear it.
Yeah, but why are some people not lucky enough to have those people, those mentors, or be able to hear that message? Why are some people not lucky enough to do that? See, that doesn't make sense.
Hold on. Okay. Yeah, and I understand. Luck is a word that none of us want to use. Yeah. Because it makes us helpless. But it is luck until this becomes mainstream, where then it is available to me in my bubble. Until then, it's not. And that's where luck comes in.
How about good fortune? I'd call it good fortune.
Well, we use good fortune.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, whatever word we need to use in the mind, so we don't feel stressed.
Okay, good.
Right?
Okay.
And it is.
Okay, good. All right. So tell us a little bit about where they can go to get more information from you. I know you got some free trainings there, and then tell us a little bit about your retreats that are coming up.
I am so grateful to be putting on our helper camp. It's like summer camp without the mosquitoes.
All right.
It's a 3-day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday event that we do every month. And we bring individuals in, we show them and teach them about the firstborn, we teach them about the first grader, we show them how to take ownership of their own mind back again. And that's our helper camp. And all the listeners here are going to get a free ticket for that. that event. We also have another event in October called Set the Doer Free, where we understand that
I
there's
like
the
that.
I am. Yeah, we have the I am, that's belief and ideas, and then it's saying what I can do. Well, we want to set the doer free and go build that life, build your financial future, find whatever that is that needs solved. So, and they're going to get a ticket for that.
Great.
It's the gift, and all they need to do is go to our wisdom journey.
Well, we'll put it.
I'm going to give a different link. Yeah, we'll give a different link than that.
Yeah, we'll have all the links in the show description, so they'll have it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's our journeybackhome.com.
Ourjourneybackhome.com. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds so good. I'm going to show up. I hope I can show up. Yeah, it sounds really good to me. Jeniji, it's been such a fun pleasure and such a great time to connect with you, and I really appreciate your work, what you're doing, and again, that's why I wanted to have you on too, because you're making great news and you're doing some positive things to help change the world and help people live a better life, and that's just what it's all about. I mean, it's just, again, for me, like you say, we just need to wake up and realize that we can, we can have a nice, wonderful life here on the planet. We don't have to fight and kill each other. We don't have to live in fear. We don't have to live in bad health. We don't have to put up with all this stuff, that we have the power to change it. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
I'm grateful, Rico. Thank you so much. And one final word I'd like to say.
Sure.
I am all in. And it may look at times what all in looks like, but I understand that the more we teach functionally, not belief-based, the better chance the human has and our human family of really living the way that we can live. And
absolutely.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and thanks to our listeners. Thank you guys for being here. So if you like this episode of the Great News Podcast, please subscribe to our channel, give us a good review, and tell your friends about the Great News Podcast and the Fearless Aging Podcast as well. So as I like to end all of my podcasts, I think we offer a lot of good ideas and knowledge with all of our guests. So as Einstein said, knowledge without action is useless, right? So like you say, you got to unleash the doer. You got to get out and do something. And you got to take some action on what you've heard today. And the good news is you can do it. You just have to go out and do it. Right. So thank everybody for being here, and we'll see you next time.